Thank you, brass ensemble, and you guys, that was phenomenal. Very good. Good morning, or afternoon, class of 2024. It's good to see you. You guys are looking good this morning, afternoon now. And thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor to speak to you. Thank you, administration and your class sponsors. I'm honored to be in front of you right now. Now, you guys look good, and parents, I bet you guys are excited and proud for tomorrow about your students, but a little bit of nerves, right? A little bit of sadness comes with the next steps of the journey. Now, I'm gonna really miss your class. You guys, I really have enjoyed hanging out with your class a lot. And I came into Mr. Johnson's Bible class a few weeks ago, and I asked you guys a few questions. I asked the seniors a few questions. And the first question I asked was write down some of your favorite memories. So these are the ones I compiled. Most of them were two things, but I'm going to tell you the few things you guys wrote down. You said you loved beach day. You loved class vespers together. You loved music and ed tours. You loved bike tour, especially climbing the arches. I think 3 of you know who you are. You loved the top 2 things that came back, like the mass majority of you put on your paper, were safari mission trips and was class trip, especially the last night. You guys said those are some of the things you said you enjoyed. And these memories, I'm glad you have them and that you can have these experiences together. You can take them with you to your next step. But if you remember 4 years ago, your class came into high school in worldwide chaos, right? We all remember that. There was social distancing in the halls. There was one-way markers. I remember the cafeteria. You guys were so spaced out. It was really quiet, like and in the commons when you were eating. And do you guys remember? There was school online, asynchronous learning. These weren't your favorite things. You mentioned the things from the last few years when things came back to normal. Do you remember chapel online? I remember speaking to the screen and no one had their screens on. Just be like that one person only. I was just speaking to myself. But chapel online. But like through all of this, when someone got tested positive, they had to quarantine, right? You had to step away from everyone else, be safe, keep everyone away. Through all of this, through this chaos, I've seen in your class a resilience and a patience, and I've seen you guys grow in wisdom, and I'm just so proud of how talented you are, and you're using those talents for God. It's just amazing to see that. So another question I had you write down was this: write a lesson down to a freshman coming into Andrews Academy. So I don't have time to read all of them, but I'm going to read a few handfuls of what you guys wrote. But I want you to listen, graduates. I want you to listen to this. Think of this not to the freshmen of the Andrews Academy, but to you as freshmen. For those of you who are going to college, you are going to receive these from each other, stepping into your freshman year this next year. All right? So this is the question I asked. And I wish I could share everything, but here we go. This is what you said. You guys wrote these down. These are instruction to freshmen coming to AA, instruction to you as you move on in your journey. The first thing is study. And the second thing is go to as many school events as you can. Third, listen to your teachers, meet new people, make sure you get enough sleep. Sleep is very, very necessary. Go on trips and tours, start strong, finish strong. Step out of your comfort zone. Humility is a great value. Know your priorities and know that God should be at the center. Never lose track of God or yourself. Just chill out. Everything's going to be changing the next 4 years, and in the end, it will be okay. Spend time outside. Keep your head up. Don't get intimidated by classes or teachers. Live with God daily. Enjoy everything because you're going to miss even the annoying things. It's okay to cry when you're overwhelmed. Things will change and will be out of your control, but be kind to yourself and others through it all. Don't give up, it gets better. Stay close to God when times are tough. Don't procrastinate. That was a big one, you wrote that a lot. Don't worry about what others think. There will be moments when you feel beat down by your failure. Remember that test or quiz or class does not define you. Pick yourself back up and keep going. Never put prayer or God on the back burner because He will always help you, even in disappointment. Some good wisdom from each other, right? You guys wrote these things down. Now, I want to look at a little bit more wisdom as we jump into a story of the Bible today. I love the Bible. Do you love the Bible? And I love the stories God gives us in the Bible. So we're going to check in 2 Kings 5 if you want to follow along. And we're going to look at a leper. You may know this story well, and do you guys know what leprosy is? Yes, where's our pre-med majors? Let me see some hands. We got a few there. Yeah, Abby got a few. Abby, Kate, I think. Yep, there we go. Got our pre-med majors here. What is leprosy? It's a chronic infectious disease, right? That eats away at your skin, attacks the nerves, right? And so we're gonna look at this story, 2 Kings 5, 1 through 19, and there is some amazing things in the story of Naaman. So first, we're gonna start in the chapter. The main character in this story is Naaman. And if you want to understand who he is, he's this mighty commander of the army of Syria. Okay, he's strong, he's valiant, he's courageous, right? And you're not messing with this guy. He's working hard. He's like the CEO. That's what Gen Z says. He's second in command after the king. He's a big deal, okay? And we're introduced to him quickly, but the problem is he gets very sick. He has leprosy. And this means like quarantine for life situation. Okay, this is what happens to Naaman. And then we're very quickly in chapter 5 introduced to another character in the story. And we call her the servant girl. And we call her this because she is not named in the Bible. And the Bible tells us she's taken captive and she's made a servant for Naaman's wife. So this young girl, taken from her home, she's living in a foreign place, she's made to work, and we don't really know much else about her. But listen, we know that she takes time to speak for God. Okay, she knows God well enough to trust him. And your class motto is what? Serving others prepares you to lead others, right? And as Mr. Wright shared last night, the greatest is the one who serves. The greatest is the one who serves. And your class text is Matthew 20:28, which we just heard. Thank you for reading that. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. And that this Jesus that we love and we serve, he came down, he sacrificed for us to die for us on the cross. And I know you believe that. And he came to serve us. And as we saw Isabella and we saw Ian last night, they stood and took a stand for Christ, saying, we believe, and we publicly are saying, we believe and we will follow and serve God as he served us, right? Now, I've seen many of you, and your class is like, if the one word would be service. You guys serve, and I have seen it over and over again. I could probably stand here and say something about every single one of you. I picked a few that stood out to me this year. Michael Woods, you led this big team of Satellite this year. You phenomenally led, so thank you for that. And also Alex Wright. You can give a clap for Michael. And where's Alex? Alex Wright. Now, you know, Alex is one of the most faithful high school students I have ever seen. He serves in our Satellite AV team, our Sabbath school. He's here he was even there this morning, serving in the Sabbath school on the AV team. So he is so faithful. For the 5 years I've been here, he's been here almost every single week serving. So I appreciate you, Alex. I mean, we have Gian, Natalia, Karen. You guys prepared food, and every single Vespers for the last 2 years, you would prepare food for our Vespers and have it out. I mean, I can talk about Jessica speaking and Braden and Simeon. You guys preached last week on Soul Safari, the preachers. We got Luke and Cebu, you doing your artwork on the stage. Like, you guys are so talented. You are leaders. And I've experienced you using your talents and gifts for God, let alone music. I mean, they're so talented in music. It's so impressive. I mean, Lauren and Natalie and Toette, sometimes you guys would do music, you'd lead worship music for people every single day of the week. Then they'd come and do it on Friday night, and then Sabbath morning, and then church as well. I mean, you are giving of yourselves, and I really see that in your leadership and your talent. So thank you, class, for doing that. It's awesome. Keep serving God wholeheartedly. Okay, so that gets us to our servant girl. That's what I was aiming for, but I'm just so impressed with you. All right, our servant girl here, and she was serving others by sharing who God was, right? So what exactly did she say? She says this, she says, tell the master, go to the prophet of Israel because he can cure your leprosy, Naaman, he can cure it. And so no matter your situation, Think of her. No matter your situation, you can always speak up for God. She wanted to help Naaman get well. She wanted to know, teach him who God was, who the God she knew was. And so when you have an opportunity to speak, class, speak up for God. Learn from the servant girl. Don't let any excuse get in your way to speak up for God. Don't stifle your voice because you may be young. Don't stifle your voice because you may be a girl. Don't stifle your voice, you might be poor. Don't stifle your voice if you're a minority. Don't stifle your voice if you're standing alone. You're the only one who believes in God. Because she was all that, and she still stood up for God. She still spoke on behalf of God. She still trusted God. And I know you guys can do that. So speak up. Speak up for God. All right, so Naaman hears this, right? And he goes to the king because he's second in command, they're buddies. And he says, my servant girl, she's from Israel. She says this prophet, he can heal lepers. So the king says, yes, let's get you there. If you can get healed, I mean, this is literally will be life-changing, right? So he writes up this letter in verse 6. He writes this letter and he says, with this letter, I am sending my servant Naaman so you can cure him of his leprosy. And so he sends Naaman, and then it says he sends gifts. Have you seen the gifts in this verse? He sends a lot of gifts. He sends 10 talents of silver, 600 shekels of gold, 10 sets of clothing. And when you add this all up, if you would take the current value of gold and silver, it's like $6 million. So he loads Naaman, he gives him this letter, and he says, go to the king of in Israel and go get healed, right? So that he gets his stuff, they roll up, they come to the king of Israel, and the king at the time was Jehoram, and he was not a godly leader. Godly leaders are so important. And at Andrews Academy, I am blown away by your faculty and your staff. I mean, they are godly leaders. Pastor Ferguson has done a phenomenal job leading spiritually on this school, so thank you for that. I have seen God work through you, and only heaven knows how much is going to change because of what you've done. So godly leaders are so important. And this king was not. He was not that at this time. And so they come to the king of Israel, Naaman and all his gifts, okay? It's the story. And he gives them the letter. And then the king, what does the king do? Do you guys know? Where's our theology major, Marco? What does he do? Oh, yeah, Marco is on it. All right, any more theology majors? We can talk about that after. We can add some more. Anyway. Yes, no, all right. Okay, so the king, he gets there, he says, whoa, hold up. He rips his garments and he says, I'm powerful and all, but am I God? I can't kill someone and bring them back to life. He says, no. Is the king of Syria trying to pick a fight with me? What you are asking, it's impossible. It cannot be done. The king says, no way. And this is what's so cool about God, is because where our strength ends is where God's strength begins. When there's an impossible situation in our life, nothing is impossible for God. The king didn't believe that, but the prophet and the servant girl did. So this is where you build your trust in God when you come up to an impossible situation, when you cannot do it on your own. This is where your faith is built. Right? And you might be nervous about the future. There might be something that's coming up that you're nervous about. There might be, it's college maybe, finances, new friends, keeping your old friends, leaving home, what degree you're going to do, what job you're going to get, how to do your laundry. I mean, relationships, changing classes, figuring out what to do with life. There's all these things coming at you now. But give it to God. Because remember, when your strength ends, when you give it to God, that's where God begins. He loves the impossible. Give it to him. Trust God when you even do not know the outcome. So he gets there. And in our story, it continues, Elisha, he says, Elisha is the prophet he's talking about. And the prophet hears that the king ripped his robes. And apparently, news travels just as fast in Israel as it travels at Andrews Academy, and he sends a message to the king. He says this, why did you tear your robes? And what he really means is, why are you so worried? Because he's tearing robes because he's worried. Why are you so worried? He said, send them in so they know that there is still a prophet in Israel. He says, listen, God still speaks in Israel. Send him here. God is still working. God still wants to do something big. Send him here. God still does miracles. So Naaman takes his horses, his servants, his chariots, and he comes to Elisha's house now. And who comes out but a messenger? Now, this is an important man. We talked about it. He is the second in command in a whole nation, and he is very wealthy, as we also have seen. And he sends a messenger to give him a message. That's not going to go over very well, right? No, not at all. And the prophet doesn't even come out. And the message reads this: Go dip, you can read it verse 10, I think. Go dip in the Jordan River 7 times and you will be healed. That's the message. And the reason Elisha does this is because he takes himself completely out of the equation. He's giving all the glory to God. He's teaching Naaman that nothing that the prophet does it's only God working through him, right? It's not the prophet. That's what he's teaching him. And the Bible says, Naaman went away angry. Of course, right? And he goes on this little rant and he says, the prophet can't even come out to meet me. I thought he would call on God, he'd wave his hand over something and he'd heal my leprosy. He says, dip in the Jordan River, only the Jordan? What are you talking about, that dirty river? I have nice rivers where I come from. I traveled all this way. I brought all this thing. This is a waste of time. He just wants to make a fool out of me. But he's in good company because when I read the Bible, God does miracles when he sometimes asks us to be a fool. Right? Do you know how foolish Noah looked when he's building an ark in the desert? It's like, hey, what's an ark, Noah? And he's like, I don't know, but God said to do it. Moses, when he brought the Israelite army and he's faced with this huge water on both sides, this way and that way, and they cannot cross. And like, Moses, what are we gonna do? He's like, I got this staff. Like the army's coming. I mean, how foolish did Sarah look when she's buying baby clothes at 100? How foolish did the Israelites look marching around Jericho with just some instruments, no bombs, no guns? How foolish did David look, this tiny guy standing in front of this huge giant with his little slingshot, right? How foolish did Esther look going to the king without being called in? That was a death sentence. How foolish did Mary look? I promise you, Joseph, it was an angel. How foolish did Peter look when he stepped out of a boat expecting to walk on the water? How foolish did Paul and Silas look singing tied to a prison cell? How foolish did the little boy look bringing 5 loaves and 2 fish, hoping to feed 5,000? How foolish did Jesus Christ look, hanging naked on a cross, the King of the Jews? They said, that is what you're putting everything on the line for? This is who you are serving? But because they decided to say yes to looking foolish, look what happened, right? Moses, he walked through the Red Sea and it parted, and Sarah gave birth to Isaac. The Israelites, the walls came down. David defeated Goliath. Esther stopped a Jewish genocide. Mary gave birth to Jesus. The wise men found the Messiah. Peter walked on water. The woman with issue of blood, she was healed. Paul and Silas, they got out of that prison. The little boys fed 5,000. His lunch fed 5,000 people. And Jesus Christ, he got off that cross, he defeated the devil, and he defeated sin and death for us. So class of 2024, when God asks you to look foolish, you dip in that water. God will heal you, God will forgive you, but what he wants is to know you. So Naaman is furious. His servants come and talk to him. It's a good thing he has those people in his life. And verse 13 says this: Naaman's servants went to him and said, my father, if the prophet had told me or told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he tells you, wash and be cleansed? So, you know the story. Naaman decided to look foolish. He went down, he took off his outer robes, and he dipped himself in the Jordan, verse 14 says, 7 times, as the man of God had told him. And his flesh was restored because it became clean like that of a young boy. God heals. God acts. Where the impossible begins and starts, God starts. He does things there. The story continues. Naaman and all his attendants went back to the man of God. And he stood before him. He says, now I know that there is no God in all of the world except in Israel. He said, I believe. I encourage you to continue to do the same. Say, I believe in God. And then Naaman says, please accept this gift from your servant. And the prophet answers, as surely as the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will not accept a thing. Even though Naaman urged him, he refused. So Elisha again pointed only to God who did the miracle. It was nothing of himself. He said, I'm just the mouthpiece. I'm just the messenger. There's nothing in me. Get to know this God. Now, the story doesn't end there. I encourage you, I know you have a busy weekend, but read the last 10 verses. There's good stuff in the last, and it's interesting what his servant does. And then with the gifts, check it out in your worship time. But Naaman's story reminds us to trust in God, and that trust often requires a step into the unknown, to take actions that might not make sense in the moment. They require you sometimes to look foolish. And as graduates, you're stepping into a new world full of uncertainties and challenges. There may be times that the path forward isn't look clear. There may be solutions that are too hard or too complex or even impossible. But remember Naaman. Trust that God has a plan for you, even when you cannot see the full picture. Sometimes the most profound miracles happen when we surrender our expectations and just simply trust and obey God. Now I have one more story as I close this afternoon. It's about one of our satellite leaders, Max Snyder. There's Max, yeah, I see you. All right. Now, Max has been helping out in satellite. He's our creative element coordinator. He helps on the program side of things. And listen, Max, you are good at mentoring. Max grabbed Ishmael, a younger classman, and he said, hey, this job would fit you, and I want you to do this job when I leave. We talked about it, and he's good at it. Max, you are good at mentoring. He mentored Ishmael. Ishmael's ready to take on everything next year, and he helped him walked him through the ropes. So this is the next step in life. First, you have to understand God's calling you. Then when you take the step, you say, yes, God, I'm gonna look foolish. I'm gonna trust you and do this thing you're asking me to do. And then you turn around. Like Max did, you turn around and you say, hey, there's someone else I can teach what I've learned. I can teach this testimony I've had about God, and you bring them along the way. So good job, Max. I appreciate you doing that. And God not only gives healing, he doesn't only give us a testimony to follow him, but he asks us to reach down and to share with someone else what we have learned. So graduates, as you achieve your goals, as you reach new heights, don't forget those behind you still on the journey. Don't forget to turn back around and lend a hand. Don't forget to be a mentor and share what God has done for you. So as I close, graduates, as you embark on this new chapter of life, carry with you these lessons. Trust God when the outcome seems uncertain. Follow wholeheartedly, even if you look foolish. And remember to help others as you achieve your goals. And I know and I trust that God will bless you and your journeys abundantly. I believe that wholeheartedly. So congratulations, class of 2024. Go with God. It's been an honor to know you and be your youth pastor.
Hi, I'm Shane Anderson, lead pastor at Pioneer Memorial Church. It's no newsflash to say that social media has become an integral part of our daily lives. And here at Pioneer, we want to use it to enrich our lives. I invite you to connect with us online by visiting the links that are shown on the screen. we're constantly sharing inspiring content that we believe can make a real and positive difference in your life. So if you haven't already, I encourage you to follow and subscribe to our social media platforms. Not only will you stay up to date with our latest news and events, but you will also be able to engage with an online community that shares a common belief, experience, and care for your well-being. And by sharing our content, you can help us reach even more people with our message of hope and love in Jesus. Join us by creating a positive impact online and making a difference in the world. Thank you, and we look forward to connecting with you online.